okay, I'll show you this real quick. I'm stream on PC. This picture is just so hilarious. Like, Amy is such a good person. Like, seriously. For anyone who's watching after this, and for who's watching right now, Amy is such a good person. Like, not to be rude or just insensitive about it, but her channel has taken a hit since she started taking that break, which did not do her any justice. Like, she's been having a hard time of it, and it kind of hardens me encourages me to do it. But Amy is such a good person. The community she's built with Twitch HSV goes further. I mean, it goes further beyond what. Like, I guess I can make this into a video somehow. So, basically, when you create a community, you need to maintain it somehow, obviously. Yes, you obviously have to maintain it somehow. And Amy has done just that. She's built the community, but the maintain of it is also equally as great. Like, you know, Twitch HSV may sometimes be a little dead, but that's just because it's very niche. Like, when you're building a community, either you have a niche community or you have something that's much more widespreading. Now, the goal with my community that I have built, while small for the empire that it is, it's intended to reach a much farther audience, where Twitch HSV is really meant to reach the audience that lives in the state that I live in, which is Alabama. So, but Amy is such a... the community she's built, her own community, not Twitch HSV, is so diverse in a way. But I'll get back to what I'm saying here in a minute. But yeah, as I was saying before, Amy is a very good proprietor of her community. She cares deeply for it. But Amy, if you're watching this, at least on YouTube or through Twitch, your commentary could use some work. Now, not to say that it's bad, per se. I am coming from a background on YouTube with Let's Plays. And Let's Plays are, give or take, about 90% commentary. Like, that's the whole point of... The whole point of a Let's Play is you play a game and you commentate over it. That's why it's called a video game commentary. So, as a result, again, 90% of the video is you making commentary. So, and that is a requirement for a good Let's Play video, because you need to be informative, you need to be entertaining somehow, and you need to find some way to convey some amount of information relevant to the context of the game that you're playing. So, I have developed this ability to commentate over things that, again, could still use some work. I mean, I'm always improving it. But I can commentate over things with some gusto, and I can do it decently well. The issue that I have with Twitch, and believe it or not, I get this kind of thing, I got this kind of idea of how I look at it from Rice Scum of all people, is that, and he's completely right about this, is that on Twitch, the people who are unsuccessful are the ones, and he didn't say the exact, I'm just kind of paraphrasing here, is the ones that are just sitting there and playing games. I don't want to be that kind of person. I went there to provide some sort of entertainment value. Now, Amy is a bit of a... There's always, like, not to quote Harris Heller here, but there's always an exception to the rule. Amy, I would consider to be the exception to the rule. She has developed a community off of the brand that she... or off of the way that she does her streams. Also, the game is getting into the thing, by the way. But yeah. So I was saying before, like, a lot of people, when they stream on Twitch, they are just sitting there playing a video game, nothing going on. Sometimes they may say something, sometimes they may groan, sometimes they may get angry at what's going on in the game, what have you. But bringing something to the table, well, may not guarantee success. It will very greatly increase your chances of it. I think that's what Amy needs to work on. Like, she has the community. She has communities in 2 places, actually. But her own channel has been suffering for a number of reasons. I personally do think the commentary sides of things are part of it. So, if you want to be a better commentary, there's many schools of thought on how to do it. Like, the way I did it was that I just just tried to find, like, I researched how to do public speaking, because when you're speaking into a microphone on stream or in a YouTube video, essentially what you are doing is public speaking. And there is a formula on how to do it, more or less. There's many schools of thoughts on how people do it, but in general, there are several ways that people to go about it. Encoder's getting overloaded again, apparently. Excuse me. But essentially, you need to have some. For most people who do actual public speaking, like in an auditorium of some sort, they usually have some sort of talking points already written down. They rehearse it before time. If they can't think of anything, if they don't have enough to talk about in the end, they probably will ad-lib it. And that is something, a very important distinction to think of here, is that a lot of what you're going to be doing on YouTube is going to be ad-libbing. It's very impromptu, very heat of the moment. And knowing exactly what to say, what to believe, what you need to say in the right moment is very critical here. And Amy, she does speak, but she's so hardly focused on the game, especially in some of her more recent streams like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Last of Us, is that she's so hardly focused on the game is that she kind of neglects the commentary part of it. Now, she does have some places that fill in the gaps per se. One of them being Stream Raiders. Now, one of the reasons why I don't have Stream Raiders on my stream is because I find ways to add in some sort of, it really comes down to finding some sort of content. Some sort of content is what you need to be like what I'm doing right now is I'm making content. Do you know the definition of content? Something that fills a space, something that fills a void. If there's no content, you'll have a void. Like if I just sat here with the camera going like that for 2.5 hours, how long I go for streams, that's not good. That's not content. That's just me staring at a screen playing games, which, by the way, is not what you're supposed to be doing when you're a live streamer, at least on Twitch. If you're on like a Picardo or, heaven forbid, Mixer, it's a different story, because they have different, the content that is hosted there is a little different, but that's a topic for another video. Or at least for another time. This is going to a video, but you know what I mean. So when you're doing here is you're making content. And I feel that if you're not making content, then your streams aren't good. Like, I don't think my streams are the best thing ever. But in general, I try to fill those spaces with something. Like the things you could fill it with are enormous. Like, there's a million different things, but for Amy specifically, it's a little different, because she has Stream Raiders. The numerous number of bots she has for her chat also adds something, but people aren't there for your chat per se. And I'll get back to this in a second. So yeah, like, I want to emphasize the importance of commentary. Because, you know, a YouTube Let's Play and a Twitch stream are two different things, yes. But there are a lot of things that are analogous with it. Because, like, you know, a YouTube Let's Play, you're going to be speaking for, again, 90% of a YouTube Let's Play in one video is just commentary. The rest is either, you know, hyperspeed sessions where you're just speeding up, going along, just doing something that's not, it's relevant to the video, but is not relevant enough for viewers to see in its entirety. And then there is either, you know, spots that's just cut out, just nothing but boring parts that, again, it's not relevant to the video. So the rest of it's just commentary. So, but in a Twitch stream, you could say the same thing. But instead of speaking for 40 minutes to an hour, depending on the game and the type of Let's Play that you're doing, you're speaking for several hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, many hours at a time. And that can be tough to do. But again, I have that kind of background where I have that experience figuring out something to say. Now, I'm not perfect. Again, I'm not perfect, but I just wanted to emphasize the importance of that. Now, Amy does a decent job at this. But here's the thing. I know I have this on my finger, but I'm weird. Here's the thing. I am very outgoing. I'm very much a social butterfly. And if I am on a special interest topic, I can go on for hours. Literally hours. I'm not even joking about that. I can literally go on for hours at a time on one subject without changing it. And I'll be very knowledgeable and very detailed in my explanation of it. Because I have autism. I have Asperger's syndrome. That is something that is granted to me through that. Now, I could get into some heated arguments with some people about, oh, well, autism is something that is to be feared or something like that. You just like, oh, it doesn't give you these superpowers. Like, of course it doesn't give you superpowers. Of course it doesn't. I'm not saying it's a superpower. It just gives me a rather unique ability that most people don't really have. And Amy is one of those people who doesn't have it. Now, does that make her a bad streamer? By no means. She has made quite the success for what her channel is, doing what she does. Again, there's always exceptions to the rule. But a lot of the stream is white space. So now, okay, so some people may argue, well, you're playing a game. There might be some sort of dialogue going on. There might be something that doesn't require speaking on your streamer's part going on. But that doesn't really justify not speaking. Like, for most people, it's not going to work out like that. For the statistical majority, it is not going to work out like that. So you need to as actually just remember what I was talking about before. So what you need to figure out what you need to do is if something that I actually never did this, but when you think about it in the context of what you're doing, it makes sense. If you have trouble figuring out something that you want to say, you should write down a few talking points, thinking ahead of what your stream may entail, which, for better or for worse, may be more predictable than one might think. Will help you get some better commentary. But if you're bad at ad-libbing, if you're bad at doing things impromptu, which, again, for better or for worse, can be a different thing, then you need to work on that too. But again, I'd like to emphasize the importance of things like that. Like, if the reason why I recommend writing down talking points is that that's what, professional public speakers do. Like, in the profession of public speaking, they rehearse ahead of time. Now, I never did this because I was trying my hardest. I was trying very hard to basically try to develop my own commentary, because I was inspired to do Let's Plays by Chuck Conroy, one of my favorite YouTubers of all time. And it wasn't actually until it was Earthbound Let's Play that I found that he's also on the spectrum as well, which makes a lot of sense, which makes a ton of sense. But his commentary is, I would consider, some of the best, if not the best, in the Let's Play community, hands down. And I wanted to emulate that. So I worked very hard on trying to get that kind of commentary. Now, some may argue that the game is a very large playable factor in commentary, and I tend to agree with that. It is very much a pretty big factor. Because take my Star Trek Online Let's Play, for example. It is an MMO. There's a lot of white space, actually. And I got into this mentality that, I can just cut out later. And that didn't work too well, because the stuff that was relevant was stuff that I had to leave in, but the stuff that I had to leave in was nothing but white space. And that bothered me. And thankfully I'm done doing Let's Play, so I don't actually have to worry about that anymore. Nowadays I can write scripts, which this is unscripted, by the way, if anyone is wondering. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, like nowadays I can write scripts, and because of that, it allows me to kind of collect my thoughts into a much more concise container, if it were. But Amy needs to work on that. I think she really needs to work on her commentary. I think that is something that is seriously holding her back right now. And when this video comes out on YouTube, I will definitely forward it to her. Just give her some context. And I mean, literally, back to the Sugar Conroy thing, like literally one of the things that got me better at commentary was just watching commentary laden videos, just watch other Let's Plays. What else? I think all I did was just watch Let's Plays. Because some may think like, well, if you're watching YouTube videos, you're not doing your work. And yes, if you're just doing it for leisure, purely for leisure, then it's not really anything for work. But if you are trying to improve on yourself, watching other people do something can often be the best way to learn how to do something. Because, you know, an apprentice is just someone who watches and learns by a mentor, like a protege watches a mentor teaches them, the protege learns from the mentor, stuff like that. Essentially, like something that I can highly recommend some people do is that what they could do is find someone on YouTube or Twitch that you respect. So if you respect someone, then you're most likely to learn the best practices from them, regardless if those best practices are actually in play by the person you are watching. I find that finding someone as a mentor, even if they actively acknowledge that you are their protege, just find someone. Chugga Conroy was seriously kind of a mentor, even though mentor for me for many years. Like, even though he didn't actively acknowledge that, and I didn't even try to play that out, saying like, "Hey, Chugga Conroy, I find that you're like my mentor" and everything like that. Well, no, it's not quite how it works. But I learned from him. I tried to improve myself through his videos. Then, once I discovered Stephen George, fantastic YouTuber, I learned even more. Like, I learned progressively on how to do better commentary leading until the cutoff point a few months ago when I stopped doing Let's Plays. So watching someone that you enjoy may seem like leisurely activities, but if you're trying to get better at something, watching is probably the best thing that you can do. I mean, practice does make perfect, but if you're practicing it the wrong way, then what's the point? And that's just what that's part of the reason why the channel has suffered significantly in the last couple of years, because it's just, I was learning from wrong sources. Like, don't get me wrong, Stephen George and Chugga Conroy, fantastic people, and they do their job extremely well. It's not right. Come on, Thoop. There you go. But I did watch some people where their commentary wasn't bad. It was just that it wasn't tailored to what I needed. So, yeah, it's like learn from other people, and I can emphasize a lot that commentary is a very important thing. But with that being said, I'd like to move on to another topic.